If you've been thinking about doing this for a long time and you're not really sure, just do it. You will get your money back. You can work hard and save up. It'll be absolutely worth it once you're there and once you're traveling. I just can't express the joy and growth that I've received so far while traveling. There's so much of the world, and if you stay in one place cramped up, you're missing out on so much and so much beauty. Everywhere in the world is different. God made it so beautiful. I am just so thankful and grateful that I have gotten to appreciate that for myself. Hey Dynamos, welcome back. I hope you've been enjoying the vlog. This is going to be a video on how I planned my trip. I'm going to give you a bunch of tips on how you guys can plan one for yourself. I'm going to make another video after this specifically about solo travel, which I'll put a lot of tips and tricks on traveling once you already have a trip planned and you're going by yourself. So let's get into the video. Okay, first I have my little list here. It depends on where you're going. My trip was around $4,000 to $5,000 for like almost 2 months traveling from place to place, and a lot of that is transportation costs. So keep that in mind once you figure out where you want to go and how long you want to stay. So number one, first thing I did was I made a list of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. I made a huge Google Doc, and this was just like a huge brainstorm dump. I knew I wanted to go to Greece. I knew I specifically wanted to go to all the spots where Mamma Mia was filmed. I knew I wanted to go to Croatia. That didn't work out. Towards the end, I realized COVID was actually getting kind of bad there, so I changed my plans last minute, and instead I'm going to Athens. So I'll still be in Greece for a little while, which I'm excited about. I knew I wanted to go to London. ABBA Voyage was coincidentally doing a tour the time I decided to travel. I knew I wanted to go to Paris. I wanted to do all the things that Donna Sheridan did in her summer. Ideally, I wanted to do it in that order. I don't remember why. I don't remember if something happened or if I just decided that I wanted to go to Greece first. Second thing, figure out how long you want to travel, how long you want to be in each place, and find a time in the future that you know is probably going to work for you and that you can be flexible and work around. For me, I knew the summer after my junior year was going to be the best for me. I wouldn't have to worry about my student teaching placement. I wouldn't have to worry about after being just graduated if I would have a job set in place that I would have to plan for. I knew that this was going to be the best summer for me, and I could fairly easily navigate around that and plan other things around this trip. I also knew that I wanted to go for a very long time, so luckily I started planning this 2 or 3 years ago, like actually sitting down and planning things out on my big Google Doc, so I was able to save up enough money to do this. After you get a list of everywhere you want to go, how long you want to stay, you can kind of get a rough estimate of how much it's going to cost. That also might influence how long you decide to stay in each place and where you decide to go, because of transportation costs are very expensive. Obviously housing is very expensive. But my third tip is just to Google Doc or Word Doc everything you possibly can. This was both fun and very challenging for me. I probably went through the entire Google Doc like 3 times, pretending that I was going through each of the things. So like, okay, I just arrived in the airport. Do I have another flight to go to? Do I need to find transportation to another terminal, or is that covered by the airport? Do I need to find a hotel to stay in overnight? And just be very caring and compassionate with yourself, because there probably will be things you missed. Like for me, this is my first time solo traveling anywhere, and I probably picked the biggest trip I could have gone on. And there were things I missed. I didn't plan to stay a night in Skiathos when my plane landed. For some reason in my brain, I just didn't want to think about that, and I was like, I can just chill in the airport for 10 hours. No. So last minute I had to book a hotel as soon as I landed. I had to get a taxi to go there. All those expenses were very last minute, not planned. But that's another tip. Just make sure when you go, you have extra cushioning in your bank account for these last minute transfers, transportation, housing issues, everything. Oh gosh, this is very like not in order. I'm just kind of spitting things out as I go. So yeah, that was my third tip. Just make sure you can plan as much as you can. I will insert some sort of template of how my Google Doc was. I had the date up top, and then I had where I was staying, and then I had a whole list of things for excursions. Now for me personally, me, I didn't plan any excursions when getting to Skopelos. I wanted to give myself the chance and time to explore on my own with nothing planned. I wanted to have a very Donna Sheridan experience, and when I got here, if there was something I wanted to do, I could put it in the dock or spontaneously plan to just do it then, and I've loved every second of that so far. It's really helped with my confidence in navigating situations and just being myself. Okay, the fourth thing. Okay, I guess this kind of goes in the order of the steps, kind of not. The third thing I said was to have a Google Doc where you plan everything. My fourth step is to plan housing and stuff first. If you are a solo traveler, there are a lot of good options. I know there are some travel programs that you can do where you give a couple hours of your day in exchange for housing and food. In addition to these travel partnership student travel programs, there are also a lot of hostels that you can stay at. I was originally supposed to go to Amsterdam first and then Greece because it worked out for my flights that it was cheaper to go to Amsterdam first and then come to Greece, then try and book a flight straight here with a couple of stops. That ended up getting canceled for some reason. The airline canceled it. That's definitely happening. Airfare is kind of crazy right now. When I was in Amsterdam, I was planning on staying in a hostel, which is kind of like a huge room of bunk beds with a bunch of people, normally solo travelers or small travel groups that are going from place to place, backpacking around Europe. Other than that, I am only staying in Airbnbs because I found that that was a lot cheaper than staying in hotels that had a lot of extra amenities. I also really liked the idea of kind of having my own whole space at like a fraction of the price that single hotel room would cost. So that's my fourth thing. Pick a place to stay first. You can always find flights later. Obviously, the sooner you book for all of this stuff, like the sooner you purchase flights, places to stay, the cheaper it's going to be. But as long as you find a place to stay, you can always find a way to get there later. But research as much as you can about these places. Airbnb has a lot of reviews. The hosts themselves get ratings. Superhosts are great. That's what mine is. She is fantastic. All the reviews of her are great. So research as much as you can about the places you're staying, the area. Even if you want it to be a very spontaneous adventure, you are going to have to be safe. But I'll cover a lot of that in the solo travel video as well. Okay, the fifth thing. After you've found places to stay and you have that set, now you can start looking for flights and transportation. A website that I use and would highly recommend is skyscanner.com. Nothing in this video is sponsored, by the way. This is just what I've used, what I've found. Skyscanner searches the entire internet, all of the flight sites for the best flights. There are going to be some sketchy airlines on there, so you're going to want to research the airlines and other transportation, but I love the site. It sorts all the results into the best flight with time and price, the cheapest flight, and then the most eco-friendly flight, I think. Oftentimes the cheapest flights obviously are going to be really long. I think it was closer to 24 hours were the flights to Greece that were the cheapest. I tried to find one that was a little bit in the middle because I didn't want to spend a whole day traveling. I mean, I did have to end up spending almost a whole day traveling to get here, and you saw how that turned out for me. I was just so exhausted. But another good website that I like to use for transportation in general is studentuniverse.com. They often have cheap flights as well, sometimes not as cheap as some of the ones on Skyscanner, but they offer great deals for students. All you have to do is prove that you're a student. You can also get an international student ID card, which I highly recommend. It's only $20, but it is accepted around the world with so many different brands, and they give you good prices as a student traveling. Highly recommend that also. Student Universe, I like their prices, but you have to be careful. I had a lot of ups and downs with planning this trip. I had a lot of flights that were canceled due to COVID, and because of some of their policies, if you cancel, you don't get a full refund. Sometimes not even a refund at all, which is what happened to me. I booked it and I was like, well, this is totally the cheapest option. Something that I learned very quickly too, just sometimes the cheapest option isn't always the safest in more than one way, like this. I lost a bunch of money because of that. It's not really their fault. It has to do with airlines and the certain discounts that they can offer to students. It's a cheap price, but it is non-refundable. They can't help you out if you can't go anymore. If you cancel your flight, you don't always get money back or credit or anything like that. So those are my favorite flight sites and transportation sites. Try and plan your transportation, like I said, through everything. Go step by step through all your places. How am I going to get to the airport, to my Airbnb? Do I have to take a ferry? I used, I don't know, I'll put it up here. They have all kinds of ferries in Greece and you can book online. It's very easy. They also accept the student discount. I got 50% off all of my ferry tickets, which is absolutely fantastic, just because I have my student ID card. The last few things other than that are just save up once you have the time. Like, I gave myself 2 or 3 years and I was like, all right, I'm going to work my butt off and do all this stuff so I can raise enough money to do this on my own. And I fully funded it myself. I had no help, and that was something I wanted to do on my own. And that was really just so empowering and so fun for me, and just really rewarding. Like, I did this myself, my hard work. It made me appreciate it so much more, which is just absolutely fantastic. So save up your money. I made like a couple like countdown charts. Like, this is how many shifts I have to work until I make enough money to buy this flight. This is how many shifts I have to work for the whole trip. I made it fun for myself. I made charts and pictures and inspiration that I hung on my walls in high school to get me excited for this. And invite friends too. I'm not going to be here the entire time by myself. I'm having one of my best friends come and meet me towards the end of when I'm in Greece, and we're going to go to London and Paris together, and I'm so excited. And the last thing is just explore. And one thing that I've learned is really nobody is out to get you. I feel like, especially after visiting big cities in America, obviously it's very important to be safe, be very aware of your surroundings, act confident, because you're already going to be a target traveling. But when visiting those big cities, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like everybody has the mindset of being very closed off, very hostile when traveling. I said that in the vlog. I've learned that that's really not the way it is. A simple smile goes a long way. Not that I've been mean or standoffish when I'm traveling, but I've just learned that luckily that I've experienced, I've been the only one that's really out to get me. Most people are very happy to help and super friendly. Especially in Greece, I've learned that Greeks love helping people. Like, that, they find so much reward and happiness in that. I mean, just be careful, but just know that there is still a lot of good in the world, especially if you spread kindness. I think that's all my tips. Thoroughly plan through everything. Know you're not going to get to everything. There is probably going to be 1 or 2 things that you slip up on, and that's okay, that's normal. And if you don't, congrats, that's great. Overall, just have fun when you're planning your trip. If you have any questions too, you can DM me if they're more specific, and I'll help you figure it out there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll address them in my solo travel Q&A that I'll be doing soon, so keep a lookout for that. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Yassas!